Hey guys, Brandon Rocky here. Welcome to this week's episode of the Go Headquarters podcast. Today, we're going to get into 7 tips to survive the holidays. Holidays are fast approaching. Thanksgiving's just around the corner. We're going to be traveling, we're going to be eating, we're going to be drinking, we're going to have time outside the gym. So what I want to get into today is 7 different tips that may or may not help you out during those holidays and see if you can stay on task with your eating and your fitness. We're going to break this down into 2 main categories. Exercise, got 3 kind of ideas and concepts for you there. And then on the nutrition side, we're going to go over about 4 concepts and see if you can apply any of this to your holiday season. On the exercise side, obviously when we start traveling, our normal gym routine is broken up. We're not attending our normal classes or personal training sessions. Maybe our normal cardio routine's out due to weather, our running routes are off, that kind of stuff. So finding a gym or coming up with your own workouts, those are all little barriers. So here's some concepts. One idea you can put into play is planned time off. So you can pick a day or 2 days or key days that you give yourself just an honest reprieve, that you're not worried about getting those training sessions in. So Thanksgiving Day, for instance, Christmas Day, New Year's, those are just examples based on when you think you're going to be the absolute busiest and the least likely to be able to get into a gym or get creative with your workout because you can't get outdoors or whatever the limitations might be. So having that planned day off sometimes gives you a little break mentally and physically from forcing the issue. But if you're going to use that strategy, you've got to stay on task the other days and make sure you're getting your assignments in somehow, whether you're attending a local gym or doing your own workouts outside of the house. So that's idea number 1. Concept number 2 is have some workouts planned ahead of time that you can do that only require your body weight, something that needs no equipment, and that's pretty endless as far as the combinations you can put together there. You've got all your push-ups, sit-ups, squats, lunges, different plyometric drills, burpees, running, all your core work, your plank variations, and you can put that stuff together in any style you can think of. AMRAP, a couple of rounds for time, something to that effect. So having that established and maybe written out in advance will really help hold you accountable to actually get that thing done. And if you need any ideas for that, definitely come see me or one of the other trainers at Go Headquarters. We can map some ideas out for you and, have those specific workouts ready to go that you can just execute on your own. And so that's concept number 2 anyway. Have something mapped out in advance, ready to go. And then concept number 3 is basically to make advanced plans on which gym you're going to go to. Do some scouting. If you're traveling, like for me, for instance, I usually head down to Naples, Florida, visit my family. I look up all the Facebook pages and websites and make some phone calls of the gyms in that area so that I know what their holiday schedule is going to be, when they're open, when they have classes, what their daily rates are, things of that nature. So I know exactly, even if it's the day after I travel, I can get up early that next morning and catch the 8 a.m. class or the 9 a.m. class or whatever it is. Or if I can just go in and do my own thing in those gyms. If they're closed, then of course I go to plan B, which was what we talked about a moment ago, hitting one of those body weight circuits that I've already scheduled for myself. So those are the 3 main exercise tips. Take your planned day off when you know you're not going to be able to get into that routine. Number 2, have that body weight workout or multiple workouts ready to go when you don't have access to any equipment or a gym. And then number 3 is advanced planning to actually get to the gym to stay on your normal schedule as best as possible. So 3 tips for exercise. Moving forward on the nutrition side of things, this is where this gets dicey because you guys know nutrition is a 24/7 job. Even when you're in your normal day-to-day work, family, home life grind, you've just got to stay really, really accountable here. So once we start traveling or we start attending more parties and functions, there's just always that, spread of desserts and candies and chips and cookies and all that stuff all over the table before meals are even served. alcohol's flowing more freely, so normally there's a lot of liquid calorie consumption going on. So there's a lot happening here. So to stay on track, a couple options. Number one, just like the exercise, you can do a planned cheat day. This would make the most sense anyway to do it on the holidays. Thanksgiving Day itself, when we know we're going to have a ton of food and we're probably celebrating with family and friends. Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, depending on your traditions, that kind of stuff. And then same deal, New Year's Eve is probably the other big one. Taking those planned days as opposed to taking multiple days is usually a win for me. So Thanksgiving being on a Thursday, a lot of people start celebrating like Wednesday night, there's stuff available. And then of course Thursday's the big holiday, so that's like an all-day bender. And then Friday you're doing the leftovers from Thursday, and that trickles all the way through the weekend. So in my head, I like to shut it down just on Thursday. I'll celebrate Thanksgiving just for that day, do what I need to do that day without any real restrictions or limits. Eat whatever you want, have dessert, have an extra drink, whatever it is. But then Friday I'm right back on schedule and continue that on through the weekend instead of trying to work my way through all the pecan pie and whatever else you're into. So plan cheat day, step one, or option one. Option two is going to be moderation throughout the holiday break. So again, I'm going to use Thanksgiving as an example here because most people are maybe going to take that Thursday, Friday through the weekend off and kind of splurge that whole time and be off their normal schedule. So you could also approach it from like a 4-day window viewpoint where you're going to just operate on a moderation level that whole time. So Thursday you're going to have kind of the big day, but then all the other days you've got to set some sort of limit for yourself where you maybe only have one alcoholic drink per day or one dessert over that 3-day window or something to that effect. What you don't want to do is just give yourself a free pass for 3 or 4 straight days. That's going to be a recipe for disaster. So put some sort of a constraint on yourself compared to what you would normally do, and that is closer on the spectrum to what your training goals are at the time and what your nutrition restrictions are at the time. That 3-day bender is usually going to set you back quite a bit, and that's where you can easily gain a few pounds and struggle in the weight room when you get back to it after that weekend. So that's option two, just moderation throughout a few day period. This third one is more of a concept as a preventative measure, as a tip going into those events. So you're going over to somebody's house for an event, you know that you're going to be eating there. Excuse me. You want to do a couple advanced strategies before you go. You want to, assuming the event is at night, you definitely want to eat normally and really clean through that day. Eat your normal meals, do your normal training session if you can, if that's available. And then drink a lot of water and eat maybe an extra snack right before you leave to go to that event. That way when you arrive, you're not immediately looking to, get extra drinks in or extra food in. You're not diving into the appetizer table. That kind of stuff is going to help a lot, I think, having that full feeling going in. And then during that whole hour of hors d'oeuvres where everyone's just kind of socializing around food before you even get to your meal, do the best you can to just stay aware of what it is that you're eating, if anything. And then hopefully that fullness that you've got going in will help kind of keep you away from just diving into every little plate and dish that there is. And also during that hors d'oeuvre hour, drinking as much water as possible before you get to that main course. That'll help fill you up to not overeat some of the maybe unhealthier side dishes or things of that nature. And then again, of course, you're more full coming off of that meal going into the formal dessert time. So usually there's a positive cycle there if you're kind of full coming into that feeding opportunity. So that's tip number 3. Tip number 4 for nutrition, and this was actually covered in a previous newsletter from Go Headquarters last holiday season, and these were some things that I got a lot of positive feedback on last year, so I figured I'd kind of refresh some of that. And this is having answers like prepped in your mind, ready to go for when people get pushy on foods or desserts or dishes or whatever. So obviously you'll apply these as needed. But just kind of the classic, I'm so full right now, thank you so much, I'll try some later, kind of a deal. Another one is just if it's during the normal dessert or the normal meal time or hors d'oeuvre time, you can always, you know, manipulate this and something to the effect of I'm saving room for dessert, which of course might be a little white lie because we're maybe not going to eat dessert, and then when it's dessert time, we can be using the other one that's I'm so full from dinner, I don't have any room, that whole thing. It's hard for people to argue with you if you are full. They've had that sensation themselves, so that usually has some legitimacy to it. And then one that I like a lot, especially for the fitness folks that are health conscious and maybe your family is not so health conscious, and so they're going to get a little nitpicky with you and say something to the effect of you're obsessed with dieting or you work out too hard, take a break, live a little, that kind of a thing. A good response for that is thanks for noticing all my hard work and dedication, staying on track with my nutrition and goals during the holidays. I appreciate your support. It's not easy, but I'm working really hard on it. Something to that effect usually will shut down any pushy aunts and uncles or grandparents or friends or family at these occasions. And I would also might shed a little light on the subject for them that eating the way that they're eating and being pushy the way that they're being pushy is not so beneficial to everyone around them. But of course, varying degrees of severity for how you can pitch that can also lead to some entertaining family feuds. So in closing, you've got a bunch of different tips and concepts to try to stay on track through the holidays. Planning some stuff out in advance, of course, is always a good idea. Giving yourself a little reprieve and actually selecting and planning which days you're going to take off from either exercise and or nutrition. And then doing the best you can to make good decisions just through the course of the whole holiday season. Gaining weight over the holidays is definitely just a series of choices and decisions going on, and usually people resort to the mentality that if you've got one flat tire, well, we might as well pop the other three, but that obviously doesn't work so well when it comes to health and fitness. So do the best you can to make those decisions day by day, and stick to the game plan that you set forth, and you should be able to get through the holidays without gaining too many pounds and maintaining your fitness and still enjoying the holiday season. So that being said, until next time, have a great week and stay fit.